coincidence, Will?
Down if you oversurge and actually might have won. They're in. We're expecting them to be in that fashion, and in remaining being used because the code, it's basic an app that the Iowa caucus app has, despite there being apps. Seen independent. I tweeted them out here. Tommy was hanging out with the election, and because they're trying to, board all on MSNB. That Bernie Sanders is probably the most trustworthy candidate out of all of the viable. And he just walked on. So, and we know he's got more billionaire backers than almost any other candidate right now. And none of that's a coincidence that he is starting to surge in popularity at this key time because of those endorsements and those relationships. They've waited, they've seen the lay of the land, they've decided Pete's the way to go. And they're going to do all they can to artificially push him as the supposed Democrat of choice now. And yeah, it is. The parallels between this and 2016 are staggering and show the DNC don't know what the fuck is going on. It's already begun in the media, by the way. This little article should give you all a good chuckle. This is Vox, okay? Now remember, Vox are left-leaning, Vox are progressive. Shouldn't they be all in for Sanders? Oh no, they're corporate-owned media. So Pete Buttigieg is more electable than Bernie Sanders and more progressive than you think. The fourth in a Vox series making the best case for each of the top Democratic contenders. This went out on February the 4th after Iowa. It's incredible, really, the timing of this, that, while we've got Iowa looming and sort of in the background, we decide to run it just so happens it was Pete Buttigieg's turn right then and there. And, in what world does making a case for somebody to be elected mean you have to denigrate another candidate? You don't have to, right? I mean, you simply don't have to. You didn't say he's more electable than Biden. You didn't say, this was a specific targeted article to basically push Buttigieg specifically over Sanders. That is where the battle line is being drawn now in the DNC. That is where we're at. We'll get rid of this guy. Breitbart writer. Yep, also ultra left-leaning publication Daily Dot writer, written on both sides of it. You would assume that would sort of give me some broader perspective about how both sides operate, but you're not interested in that because you live in a little fucking demented bubble and just repeat talking points that you're fed by streamers that pander to you for money, grifters. I'm not one of those people, I'm afraid. This ain't the stream for you. Fuck off. Never return. Your opinion is worthless to me because you don't have a fully formed brain. There are fetuses out there with a higher IQ than you. Right, back to wrapping this up. So I did give you a little teaser, didn't I? I did give you a little teaser about how there was all this fuckery going on. And who do we blame? So the media, for me, should focus very clearly on the conflicts of interest I outlined earlier. They're not doing that. Why aren't they doing that? They're not doing that because that'd be too real. That'd be too much like real journalism. That'd be too much like actually, doing your job. That'd be too much like safeguarding the interests of the American people, a purpose that the mainstream media eschewed a long, long time ago. And now what they are is just corporate-owned, political propaganda outlets. That's true across the board. So, what they did do was they wanted to focus on, not on Pete Buttigieg's conflict of interest, not on the financial ties, not on the acronym Shadow Buttigieg campaign clusterfuck with the DNC chair being involved too. They didn't want to focus on any of that. Well, they wanted to focus on why couldn't people call in and get the results out in a more timely fashion. And that actually was an issue that happened on the night. I can show you a clip here where I got it. This is the lines were being clogged, and in one of the most embarrassing moments probably of CNN's coverage, the guy from one of the caucuses that was reporting the results got hung up by the Democratic chair live on air while talking to Wolf Blitzer.
Sean, have you gotten any explanation at all as to what's going on?
No, I have not. No. I'm just waiting on hold and doing my best to report the results from my precinct.
What are you hearing? I know you're listening to a conversation from the Iowa Democratic Party.
So this is a real coincidence, Wolf. I just got off hold just now, so I've got to get off the phone to report the results.
All right, go ahead. Report your results. Can we listen in as you report them, Sean?
Yep.
All right, let's listen.
All right. Okay. Hi. Hello? They hung up on me. They hung up on me. Okay. I've got to get back in line on hold.
Oh.
They just hung up.
It's so frustrating indeed.
So frustrating indeed. I mean, first of all, like, what's your priority here? Talking to fucking CNN or getting your job done? But equally, I will say, it's not like they stuck around and gave him a particularly long time.
That's what I'm hearing.
Two hellos for what should be an essential part of the process. The sole reason the phone line exists anyway. It's not like this is a general customer service hotline or a fucking drive-through. You know, this is a line dedicated to people calling in and giving the results from their caucuses, right? But anyway, something about that. That phone number, because the DNC is incompetent as well as malicious and malevolent. Thanks a lot again, Welbers, for the 10 gifted subs, buddy. That's 20 tonight. Really appreciate it, my man. They put the number out, the phone number, publicly. It was publicly available. People found it, and so people maliciously used it and were calling it and clogging it up, making it difficult to get through. That might even explain why she was quick in hanging up, because who knows how many bullshit calls had sort of gone through and deadlines they'd had earlier in that night. I might be willing to give them the benefit of the doubt there, but the number should never have been publicly available anyway, and certainly not advertised and announced. This clip as well just sort of underlines that guy who got hung up on went and talked about it a little bit later on. This was put out. He was talking to Rachel Maddow about it. We're going to cover her in a second.
By Sean Sebastian, who's a caucus secretary in Ames, Iowa tonight, which is in Story County, Iowa. In Precinct 1-1, he was the caucus secretary. And Sean, I really appreciate you making time to join us tonight. What can you tell us about what happened in terms of reporting results from your precinct?
Well, I think as you just mentioned, the app that we were told to download just hasn't been working. So in the handbook that we were given a hotline to call to report the results. And I've just been on hold pretty much since 8:30 trying to report these results in.
You've been on hold for 2 hours trying to report the results from your one precinct?
Yes. Yep. So I was, they say that they'll be with me in the order in which, I got on hold. And there was a moment where they did connect for like 1 second about half an hour ago. And then I just wasn't responsive quick enough and they hung up on me. So I'm back in line.
Sean, in terms of your precinct, do you mind if I ask you to tell us what the results were in your precinct?
Yeah, so, the caucus system is really unnecessarily complicated, as you know, and as you're dealing with right now. So I can tell you on the first alignment, Bernie Sanders had 111 people. Elizabeth Warren had 82 people.
This is the guy who showed you tweeting it out earlier.
47 people. And after all the second alignments and all the math, it ended up with Sanders with 2 delegates, Warren with 2 delegates, and Buttigieg with 2 delegates.
Sean Sebastian.
So even though Sanders had more than double the number of people after the first alignment than Pete Buttigieg, they ended up with the same number of delegates.
Sean, thank you for helping us understand what happened tonight. And we're going to go now to...
Yeah, thanks indeed. Thanks indeed. So this is what Rachel Maddow took from that. Was she basically decided to conduct one of her rigorous investigations. The same piece of shit propagandist that claimed to have evidence of, fuckery in Trump's tax returns and then had to humiliatingly admit on air that he actually paid more in taxes than several of the Democrat candidates did, according to tax records. The same, person that pushed Russian collusion as a matter of fact for 2.5 years in constant Russia content. She should have been took off the airwaves. She should have been cast out of broadcast television. She has told more lies to the American people than almost any other mainstream anchor in television. Yet not only does she still have a job, she still remains the face of the network. That's all you really need to know about MSNBC. Some of the people that they employ are absolutely despicable, including Joy Reid, somebody who's been caught on record as having lied, having peddled, 9/11 conspiracy theories, homophobic comments. These people never get penalized. These people are never held to a standard that you or I would be as just public figures, and they're put on network television, ideologues that basically get paid to lie to you on a daily basis, and the wheels keep turning. Anyway, Rachel Maddow decided to do one of her incredible investigative pieces of journalism. And what she decided to do was on the basis that there were about 12, 20 comments on 4chan in a thread of people saying, hey, I've got the number, why don't we clog the lines? She wanted to put all of the focus on Iowa being a clusterfuck down to 4chan. Yes, that's absolutely true. I'm going to show you the clip now. Try not to laugh. This is classic Rachel Maddow.
Since that initial reporting, NBC News and other news organizations have tracked down messages like these from pro-Trump political message boards online, which show Trump supporters in real time on caucus night, not only posting and reposting the hotline number that precinct chairs were supposed to use to call in results for the Iowa Democratic Party, but explicitly encouraging one another to call and call and call again, specifically to clog up the lines, specifically to mess with the Democrats' ability to carry out the caucus. Quote, F them up. Keep clogging the lines. Keep clogging the lines. The results are not being reported because the lines are clogged. Keep clogging the lines. Now, it is clear that that is not the only thing that went wrong with the tabulation of the Iowa caucus results on Monday.
You think?
But that, it turns out, is one of the things that went wrong. And it is the kind of thing we have seen before. The next Democratic nominating contest in 2020 is Tuesday in New Hampshire. New Hampshire state officials today held a press conference to assure everybody in the state and around the country that what happened in Iowa isn't going to happen there. That they have every confidence that absolutely nothing will go wrong with the primary in New Hampshire on Tuesday. One reporter asked explicitly whether the 2002 phone jamming scandal from New Hampshire might be a worrying past precedent for that state, given what just appears to have happened in Iowa. New Hampshire's Republican governor responded to that question by dismissing the matter entirely, saying that issue from nearly 20 years ago just doesn't apply today.
It doesn't.
It should be noted that the New Hampshire governor right now is a man named Chris Sununu, who is the younger brother of former Senator John Sununu, who is the guy who benefited from the illegal phone jamming scheme for which people went to prison in New Hampshire in that election 18 years ago.
I mean, far be it from me to say that a 20-year-old act of political corruption, you'll notice as well, we sent people to prison from the Republican Party for fucking with the integrity of an election. How times have changed. To compare it to the 2002 New Hampshire phone jamming scandal is crazy, because it's not the same thing. The number was publicly put out. But then also to say that the guy who's a relative of this guy, of the thing that happened 20 years ago, being still involved in politics in that area means it's probably going to happen again. They're already... listen, the dark arts that the fucking Democratic Party, the DNC, engaging on a daily basis, it's necromancy. It's insane. And Rachel Maddow, one of the propaganda arms, coming out, basically giving disinformation to the American people. It's incredible to me. It is absolutely incredible that this is the type of thing they peddle, that they're telling the American voters, don't look over here with the Pete Buttigieg stuff and the money. Don't look at all of that. It's 4chan, it's Russians. That's what you need to be worried about. Again, if 4chan and some Russian Facebook accounts, pages, can compromise the integrity of your election, which, by the way, you're doing a great job of compromising it yourselves, just the DNC alone, then you have a fundamental problem. You need to be looking at that, not constantly harping about it. But, of course, the propaganda has been deployed. Now, this is the hilarious part, and this is where we're going to end talking about the nightmarish clusterfuck that is Iowa, which, of course, is much like 2016. Bernie gets fucked out of a win, and we're blaming 4chan and trolls. But this is just so fucking chef's kiss at the end, and I can't wait to see what comes out of this. Journalists are going to try and get 4chan users to talk to them about clogging the Iowa call lines. This is it. Following the story about 4chan users clogging the Iowa call lines, we're now seeing reporters from major outlets posting in chans saying they're working on a story and sharing their contact information. If this is an indication of how major outlets are going to engage with disinformation, we're doomed. So literally, hi, my name's John from the Washington Post. Here's my cell phone number, 4chan. Please call me. Like, are you fucking for real right now? Like, it's just going to be My Little Pony porn, bestiality, swastikas, racist Pepes. Like, what the? Are you guys fucking idiots? Haven't you learned anything? By the way, I can't speak for 4chan, but I've been around on the internet a little bit. I saw the rise of 4chan. I've seen everything they've ever been involved in. I've seen how it's incredible to think one forum has consistently shaped cultural moments through, coming together through collective from collective grassroots movements, and this can be to the very positive. Anonymous used to assemble on there back when it had a bit more bite and teeth to what it wanted to achieve, to silly things like just skewing polls. So you had the Mountain Dew drink or whatever it was being changed to something very unsavory. I won't repeat here, but this is not how. Like, how have you not fucking figured out by now, of all time, like decades we're talking, and you still don't know how to interact with these people, or how, or that you probably just shouldn't bother, because 4chan has utter contempt for you, and rightly so, in the same way I have utter contempt for you and what the journalistic profession has become. The idea that you are, even if you get a reply and somebody wants to talk to you about why they did it and give you statements, it's going to be full of lies and disinformation, and we have over 9,000 penises and all this gibberish, and then you're going to run it, and then on top of that, you're probably going to cry about being harassed when they send you fucking hate mail from the fucking contact information you provided on a public messaging board, you fucking idiots. This is the state of your media. So, that's Iowa. That's Iowa. That's all the nonsense that went on there. I hope, I know it's been about 90 minutes or so, kind of breaking it all down. But that's pretty much all you need to know about what went on. It looks like a robbery of Bernie Sanders. Even if you believe in the integrity of the results, you absolutely must question the process. It's just crazy to me. Interestingly enough, as well, I did see that when it looked like Bernie Sanders was way out in front, before we were waiting for the rest of the votes to be counted, wink, wink, the media also started putting out think pieces saying, hey, Iowa's not all that important. Don't worry about Iowa. So, it's a fucking rigged game again, guys. It's a scam. It's bullshit. You guys have just got to fucking, if this impacts on some people. There's a regular on my stream who I obviously won't name, but got in touch with me and said, hey, I was at the caucus. I know some of you guys are very close to this political process, and it must be deeply upsetting to see kind of what's been going on with this. But the bottom line is, from my observations, I think we should be looking at what's going on with Pete Buttigieg, why he's being pushed, and we need to look at why, once again, the DNC is working against one of its own candidates. That is so insane to me. And when you consider, people all said, oh, that's just Clinton's power in the DNC. She's obviously still liked, still very well connected, and as I believe will still be involved at some point. But this isn't just about Clinton. This is about the DNC holistically, And the DNC media machine, holistically, for whatever reason, they were not going to let Bernie come out on top. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And that means that people are going to have to fight harder. People are going to have to push harder, and do more, because you're going to see shit like this. I dread to think what's going to happen at New Hampshire, and keep in mind the snowball effect of what happened in Iowa, as we heard, is that Pete Buttigieg just had a 9-point boost in the polls ahead of New Hampshire. So, this, because people want, as I said, people psychologically want to be on the winning team. And if you're not for Sanders, then you have to go with the other candidate, and now it's Buttigieg. It's fucking ridiculous. It's insane. He cannot be elected president. He will not beat Trump. So, what a fucking nightmare. What a nightmare the whole thing has been from start to finish.